Hello and welcome to Sew with Christine. In today's tutorial, I'm going to share with you how to sew this dress. This is the part 2 of the tutorial. In the part 1, I showed the drafting and the cutting. In this tutorial, I'm going to share with you how to sew the pieces together to achieve this style. So I'll urge you to watch the part 1 before the part 2. So I've gone ahead to use the drafted pattern to cut out my fabric. And for the front part, I added seam allowance to the shoulder areas and the middle parts here. So all the places I wrote seam allowance, you're going to add seam allowances there. Then for the center back, I added 1 inch zipper allowance. I also added ½ inch seam allowance at the top area. And this is the lower part of the dress. Now I've gone ahead to iron my hairstay to the upper pieces of this dress. For the lower part of the sleeve, remember the sleeve is divided in two. I have ironed my gum stay to the lower part of this. I'll recommend you use a soft gum stay. I used a hard one and it was too stiff. Now to the cup parts. For us to get the cup, you're going to come upward by 1.5 inches from your chest line. Then you're going to divide this area here where you have these points. That is from your armhole depth line to the side of your bust measurement. You're going to divide that by 2 and draw a curve down to your under bust. Then from the 1.5 inch, you're just going to draw a curve this way. You come to this part and you go upward by 1.5 inches. Then you are going to draw a curve like so. You won't allow your curve get to the seam allowance. Now I'll go ahead and cut this. After cutting, I'll bring in my wadding. This is a soft wadding. I'm going to fold the wadding in two and place my pattern on it. I'm going to pin the pattern down onto the wadding. Once I'm done pinning, I'll go ahead and cut this out. Alright, since this is a fusible wadding, we are going to be gluing this onto the fabric directly. So place it onto your fabric away from your seam allowance. That is the part that has the glue. That is where you're going to place directly onto your fabric. Now I did not label this wadding because I will be ironing this straight away. But if you won't be ironing yours straight away, I would advise you do the labeling. You use your marker to label the up parts, down parts, and the side so you don't mix them up. Alright, I'm done ironing the wadding onto the fabric and this is what they look like. Next, I'm going to place them this way, right side facing right side, and I would sew. After sewing, this is what we have here. The next thing that we are going to do now is to notch these areas that we have sewn. So I'm going to fold this way and I will make my notches. After notching, I'm going to add this ½ inch foam to the lower part of this cup area. I just want to add this to push the bust up when it is worn. So you're going to place it this way beneath the cup and just trace out the curve at the bottom parts. So this is just very easy to do. Once you get the curve, you go ahead and use what you have cut to get the second one. After that, just trim out the edges so that the edges will be very flat. Trim the up parts and the down parts. So I'm done trimming. I'm just going to place this onto this dress and see what it looks like. Alright, this is sitting perfectly well inside the cup. Next, I will trim the other foam. I'll trim the top and the bottom. I will also fit this into the cup. Once this is set, we are going to use our hot glue gun to glue this foam into the cup. If you don't have a glue gun, then you can use this yellow gum that bag makers and shoe makers use. I usually use that because it's easy, unlike the hot glue gun that solidifies very fast. So I don't have that at hand. That is why I'm using this hot glue gun. Alright guys, I am done gluing this and I've also gone ahead to iron this area using my tailor's arm, and you can see the outcome. I've actually taught you guys how to make a tailor's arm. If you've not seen that video, you can check my page. Now is for us to sew the sides, so I'll bring the back parts in and I will place them this way, right side facing right side, and run my stitches from top to bottom on both halves. And here we are, I'm done stitching the sides. You can see what this looks like. Next is for me to stitch the lining onto the fabric. While I was stitching the main fabric, I was also joining the lining part. So I'll place my lining over this now, and I will sew the center front close on both of them. All right, now I'm done stitching the center front, and after I stitch this up, I made another stitch. All you have to do is to move your seam to the lining and sew on that lining. That is how to make another stitch. So I'll fold this in and iron. But before I iron, I'm going to sew the back neckline. I'll place the lining this way, right side facing right side, and I would sew both of them. Now I'm done sewing. All I have to do now is to make notches on those areas and turn this to the right side. Now is for us to close the shoulder. So I'm going to hold the main fabric and the lining together of the front part. Then I will bring in the back one and use the back one to wrap the front one this way, so that the lining of the back one is lean on the lining of the front one. After wrapping, I'm going to pin this down. I'll repeat the same thing for the side. I'm going to hold the front piece this way, both of them. Then I'll pick the back one, place the main fabric of the back onto the main fabric of the front. Then I will turn this so that the lining of the back one rests on the lining of the front one. Afterwards, I'll go ahead and stitch on those areas. I'm done stitching the shoulders. Now is for us to stitch the center back close. Here is what the shoulder looks like on the inside. I'm going to place the fabric open and run my stitches from top to bottom using 0.25 inch. Now we are set. The center back has been sewn. I'm going to turn this now to the right side. So this is what we have here after stitching. Next is for us to iron. Now I'll bring in the lower parts. I'll take out the pins and separate the lining from the fabric. After that, I'm going to bring the back piece this way, open them up so that the center back is in the middle. Then I'll bring in the front one and place this right side facing right side to the back. Then I'll go ahead and sew the sides close. And here we are, I'm done stitching up the sides. This is what it looks like. Next, I'm going to bring in the upper piece. After that, I'm going to measure from the center of this lower piece 0.75 inch. Remember, this was what we cut out when we were drafting this dress. So I'll mark 0.75 inch on both sides. Then I'm going to place the upper piece, one of it first. I'll place this onto the marked point and I will pin this down. When you get to this side, you're going to match up the side seam of the lower piece to that of the upper piece, then you will pin. I'm going to pin both upper piece onto the lower piece this way from the middle to the side. Then I will bring the lining this way. Ensure the right side of the lining is facing the right side of the main fabric of the lower piece. So I will sew the waistline and I will come to the side and sew the sides close using 0.25 inch. Alright, this is it. We are actually done stitching the lining and the lower piece to the upper one, and this is what the inside looks like. Now we are going to fix our zipper to this. I'll bring the center back together this way. Next, I'm going to measure from the top to where I want my zipper to end. Where I want my zipper to end, I will make a mark there. Then from the lower part of this dress, I will measure upward 5 inches. Then I will add my 1.5 inches seam allowance, that is 6.5 inches in total. If your dress is to the knee, measure 7 inches upward, then add your seam allowance to that. I'm going to sew this area close. Afterwards, I'm going to hem the base of this dress. And this is it, guys. I am done stitching up the zipper, and this is the slit opening we have at the base. I've also hemmed this dress. Next is for us to fix the sleeve. I'm going to sew the sides of the sleeve from top to bottom. This is it. I am done stitching this up. I'm done stitching one part of the sleeve, and this is the lower part. Now for us to get that for the second sleeve, I've laid my lining onto this lower piece, and I've also run my gather stitch at the top. Next, I will go to the sewing machine and sew the side close using 1/2 inch. Then I'm going to fold the lower part, that is, I will hem that part using 1.5 inches. And here we are. I am done stitching the sides and hemming the base. Next, I'm going to fold this way and notch the center. Then I will bring in the upper sleeve and notch the center of the base. After that, I will pull the thread to gather this upper area. So we are going to sew these gathered parts to the base of the upper sleeve. After gathering, I'll bring the base of the upper sleeve and pass it inward this way, ensuring both of them are right side facing right side. After passing this, I will go ahead and pin them down in place, and I will sew this round. And this is it, guys. I am done stitching this round. I will just turn this now to the right side so you can see what this looks like. Now for the lower piece, we are going to pass our elastic through the hem we made at the base. So just use your wrist as the measurements. Next, pass your setting pin through the elastic and then through the hem that you made at the base. So it's just simple. The same way you pass elastic through a dress, that is how you do this. So I'm done passing the elastic, and as you can see, this is a little bit big. So I'm going to pull my elastic to the desired width. After that, I'm going to stitch on the elastic and sew the opening there close. Now we are done stitching the sleeve. Next is for us to stitch the sleeve to the main dress. You're going to pass the sleeve inward this way. Then you are going to sew around the armhole. And so guys, we are actually done with the stitching of the dress. Next is for us to bead this. Now you can start beading from the top or you can start from the base. So I'm just going to pass my thread and secure this down. After securing, I'll begin to use my beads. The bead I'm using here is called pearl bead. So these are pearl beads. I will pass them through my needle to the exact width. Once I get the exact width, I will stitch the other side. After securing this area, I'm going to move my needle up about 1/2 inch away from the lower bead line. Then I would pass my bead through my needle again. I'll come to this side 1/2 inch upward and stitch. So this is how I'm going to stitch this up to the desired height. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll catch you in the next one.